Uncertainty, whether economic or political, is the only thing that seems certain for Pakistan's future. Some of its leaders fear that the country is headed towards a civil war. How and why? Let's break it down. We begin with the state of the country's economy. Pakistan's total public debt till December 2021 stood at over $223 billion. PTI's economic policies combined with the pandemic and Ukraine war have brought Pakistan's economy to a grinding halt. People have been hit by worsening inflation and rising commodity prices. But Shehbaz Sharif government does not seem ready to tackle this mounting crisis. The 11-party coalition came together with one single goal: to oust Imran Khan. And now that's done, the Sharif government is struggling to prioritize. It's been over a week since Shehbaz Sharif took oath as Pakistan's new Prime Minister, but the cabinet is not even fully formed. Earlier today, 37 members of the Sharif cabinet took oath. 31 federal ministers, 3 ministers of state and 3 advisors to the Prime Minister took oath. 13 of the federal ministers sworn in are from the PMLN, which is Shehbaz Sharif's party, and 9 from the PPP political party of the Bhutto Zardaris. The ceremony was scheduled to be held on Monday, but reports say President Arif Alvi refused to administer oath. He cited health grounds. The president cited the same reason for not administering oath to Shehbaz. Shehbaz Sharif is already struggling to balance between the allies. It is an 11-member coalition government after all, and keeping it together is a big challenge. A week on, only a first list of cabinet members has been released. A popular face and a key ally missing from the list is PPP chairman. PMLN leader Khawaja Asif had earlier said that Bilawal Bhutto Zardari will be given the foreign ministry portfolio. However, no such announcement has been made yet. Sources from the PPP camp say the party chairman was not joining the cabinet in the first phase and might opt for a ministry after a few days. The question that arises is whether the party is seeking more than what is being offered by the PMLN. There are already murmurs of allies being miffed or unsatisfied. Sources say the Balochistan National Party, or the BNP, and the JUIF, Fazlur Rahman's party, may not join the cabinet soon. The BNP has accused the government of not preventing violent incidents in the province, including the recent firing of protesters in Chagai in Balochistan. And JUIF chief Rahman has demanded immediate general elections. Sources say he is annoyed over non-fulfillment of his demands regarding distribution of ministers and constitutional posts. The fate of the Pakistan coalition hangs by a thread, and the man ready to pounce to take advantage of this situation is none other than Imran Khan, who has refused to fade away despite losing power. He's been campaigning relentlessly, and his rallies have seen a massive turnout. His government might have fallen, but his charisma and populist rhetoric are still intact to pull in crowds from ordinary men and women to high-profile celebrities. Well, you see, political experts fear that deep polarization cultivated by Khan, who pitches himself as a savior against corrupt dynasties, could prove deeply destabilizing for Pakistan. They say it could push the country into greater political turmoil because Imran's magnetic personality is a sharp contrast to the new Prime Minister, who is known for his skills as an administrator. Imran Khan and his aides are being accused of creating a wave of public anger that experts say could prove difficult to control. The PTI claims that Imran Khan has exercised utmost restraint, but very soon he will not be able to stop an angry mob of people. In a tweet, Imran Khan's aide and former minister Fawad Chaudhry warned that the country is headed towards civil unrest. Last week, chaos ensued in Punjab Assembly. Police entered the assembly after PTI and PMLQ lawmakers roughed up the deputy speaker, forcing him to retire to his chamber. Taking note of Imran Khan's antics, senior PMLN leader Khwaja Asif in the National Assembly session on Monday said that there was a need to seek fresh mandate from the public to avert a civil war-like scenario that is being provoked by Imran Khan's PTI.
जो इस वक्त हमारी coalition government है उसको किसी वक्त सोचना चाहिए कि हम
Our coalition government must think of getting people's mandate. I am now referring to a recent incident where Mr. Hamid Mir, who is a reputed public figure and the host of Pakistan's most popular talk show, was threatened. Imran Khan had sent goons to his house who threatened him. The time when Imran Khan sends his goons to other people's houses is not far. If this continues, ultimately a civil war will erupt. And this threat of a civil war is not restricted to Pakistan, but has also spread to overseas Pakistanis. This will only lead us to doom.
General elections in Pakistan are due next year. Looking at the current scenario, they could even be called before the end of this year. But with the mounting turmoil and a volatile time ahead, is Pakistan once again on the brink of a civil war? And who is going to avert this crisis? Journalist Omer Altaf is joining us live from Islamabad for more on this. Omer, thank you very much for making time and welcome to WION.
Thank you.
Now, the new Prime Minister has not completed his 100 days in office, and yet there is already confusion. And the President of Pakistan is seemingly evasive. Having this in mind, in your view, was Shehbaz Sharif ready for his new role of taking charge of the government?
Obviously, as an administrator, Shehbaz Sharif is ready, but to head a government of so many parties, 9 to 10 parties, it's a different ballgame. It has never happened in Pakistan before, so it's a completely new experiment. But I think Shehbaz Sharif and the PMLN wants to see this project through now that they have ousted Imran Khan. So there is a huge responsibility on PMLN as the major coalition partner in this government to ensure that certain reforms are carried out. The economy, which was in a free fall when they inherited, is taken care of. Certain maybe unpopular decisions are also made, such as the fuel price hike, which has been due for quite some time and which was frozen by the last Prime Minister Imran Khan, which really made no economic sense. That also needs to be taken care of. And there are a lot of other issues, electoral reforms, the appointment of the next army chief, which would be happening in November this year. So these issues, apart from a lot of other issues related to coalition partners, they also need to be addressed. So he has got his plate full. Let's see now how does he, whether he's able to fulfill this huge task ahead of him or not.
Omer, some critics argue that Pakistan could be on the verge of a civil war. What do you make of that statement? And also, will it be a struggle for Shehbaz Sharif to handle the deepening economic crisis?
I really don't think so. Pakistan is headed towards a civil war because although there is a lot of political polarization, but there is no unrest on the streets. Though Imran Khan is pulling massive crowds, but they are peaceful, and there has been no indication that the crowds could get unruly or violent at any stage. And still, if Imran Khan is seeking an early election by conducting rallies across the country, but though he's attracting massive crowds, I really don't think so this strategy could actually help him in getting an early election or an election at a time when he wants it. It's going to be the prerogative of this government whenever they decide to call the election, whether it be after a few months or they want to complete the full tenure, which ends in August next year. And the elections would be held in October 2023. So, and it still remains to be seen how long can Imran Khan sustain this momentum. There is obviously outrage in the way he was ousted, and he has sharpened his narrative by talking about a foreign-funded conspiracy to oust his government. This has been bought by his core supporter. But outside of urban areas, it remains to be seen whether this narrative actually will deliver results for Imran Khan or not. That would only be seen in weeks and months to come.
Do you think that bothers Shehbaz Sharif's government?
Obviously, the new government would have to make unpopular decisions as far as the economy is concerned. They would have to raise utility prices and fuel prices, which would also give Imran Khan's movement further impetus. And they now that the shape in which they have inherited this economy, so they wouldn't be able to absolve themselves from the mess they inherited and how they go about in correcting it. So they really can't shy away from this responsibility. If they deliver, they could reap dividends of it in the next election. But if they falter, there's going to be a very heavy price they would have to pay come the election time.
Live from Islamabad, Pakistan, I've been talking to journalist Omer Altaf. Thank you very much for making time and for talking to WION today.
Thank you very much.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.